So my coping method is to throw things at the wall and see what sticks. So to keep trying and find what works and let go of what doesn't.
My coping method is expressing myself through music, writing, and anything else.
My coping method is making music.
My coping method is using music to heal my emotions.
My coping method is running.
Okay, my name is Darion Ray. I'm 30 years old. I was born in Edmonton, Alberta, but I moved here when I was like 5. Then I've just been in Kelowna ever since.
Okay, my name's Laolu Oseni. I'm from Nigeria. My hometown is Oyo State in Nigeria. And I'm here in Canada in school for audio engineering.
Lots of things, making music. I'm in school right now, finishing up my diploma for audio engineering. And then I'm also working on a business that I started for writing and content creation.
One struggle I have is self-talk. Like, the way I talk to myself is not actually the best most times. It's like, if anything happens, I'm always very hard on myself. So I think that translates every day. If something goes wrong, it was my fault. I always tell myself that. Or like, if I have to fix something, like, psych myself up and do it and get things done. So that's what happens day to day with me.
I was struggling with like drinking for probably 5 years in my mid-20s. And it just got really bad. I was drinking every day, and I was still making music but not fully producing it. I was just writing. I just love to write. So when I finally decided to get sober, I just started making music every day instead of drinking, and it was like my saving grace. It saved my life, really.
Honestly, it was just from music always being around me. Like, very early memories of being driven to school by my mom or dad and then playing music in the car, and I was always like, oh, I love this. I would like to do something like this. And then, yes, I was the kid that watched Michael Jackson videos and tried to dance like him, so that came up too. And then I would hear rappers and try to rap like them, and over time it just became something I wanted to do for myself also.
My mental health, obviously, just drinking every day wasn't good. So there was signs of obviously depression, but then the alcohol would make me even more depressed. So it was kind of just this cycle that was vicious. And then it kind of compounded, and then I had an injury where I ended up losing my eye. And then I got pushed even down further into this like hole that I was mentally in. And the only thing that I saw taking my mind off wanting to drink or the negative things in my life was when I'd make music. And sometimes I would make music and write about these things, but it was therapeutic. It was like journaling. It was a way to talk about it. It was like the piece of paper I would write on was like my therapist. So it was me just getting it out. And then it just became this thing for me that was so positive, and it just took up my time where now I'm not thinking about, oh, I need a drink or whatever. And it was everything to me.
I'll say the word is expression. When you hear somebody express something that you're feeling in a way that's so calm and soothing, when you hear somebody sing something or somebody rap lyrics that, oh, I really relate to that. So like, finding more of that kind of music really helped me that, I'm not alone in what I'm feeling, and that other people also feel like this way, and it's all right to feel this way. Like, it's a normal human experience, those things. So I guess just that, and listening to those things all the time makes you like keep going.
There's one song in particular, because it's actually about it's written as a story of how I lost my eye, the whole night, everything leading up to it. So that song in particular, it's called Long Night, and I wrote it just front to back, a story of how it happened. And then just quoting some of the lyrics would be at the end of it, like at the end when I already talked about how my eye was gone, I said, "Let my eye be my sacrifice, not to regret my life." So that lyric, I say it like 4 times, I repeat it, because that lyric and those words were the biggest thing for me, and because they mean to me, losing my eye was like the signal for me to quit drinking. It was like, it's time, you're gonna die. So in hindsight, my eye was a sacrifice for me to be able to see I have to stop drinking. And so it was a sacrifice not to regret my life, because I didn't want to be 40 years old one day, 50 years old, and just drank the last 20 years of my life and just regret not going from music or anything that I had that inner desire to go for.
This is post-surgery, it never had occurred to me I'd never see again. Out that eye, they had to remove it, though I didn't choose it. Why'd I have to lose it? Why'd I act stupid? Questions I would ask. Drinking was a mask, hidden like a flask. Quitting was a task. Now I took my eye, what's next? My life? So I had to make a choice not to regret my life. Not to regret my life. Let my eye be my sacrifice, not to regret my life. Not to regret my life.
Like 5 years ago was 2018. I was in school again. I was in university for electrical and electronics engineering, which was going well at the time, even though I hated the school. Yeah, I hated the school, but that's another topic. And I just always felt like I should be doing something with music, because it's all that I paid attention to. I would be on YouTube watching people record themselves. So I just wanted to get into that. So I knew after school I was going to do, I always thought I would just like buy a mic or buy an interface and be in my room making my music. But I guess this came up and I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's go to school again for audio.
None of this would have been possible if I never quit drinking and got myself out of that rut that I was in. That mental, like, despair is pretty much what it was. So it's interesting when I go to show and I'm doing my pregame, I'm like at home talking to myself, like getting pumped up. And I just take a second, because you just get slapped in the face with reality. Like, yo, I'm doing a show. 2 years ago, I would have been blacked out or passed out right now. And you just see like, whoa, like I came from here to here. So these shows for me are almost like a way for me to measure like how far I've come with my mental health. And then it's interesting too, performing live, because it's kind of hard. You can't hear the lyrics the way you would on a professional recorded produced track. So it's more about energy. So when I'm up there and I'm performing a song that's maybe a little more exciting or a little more sad, the biggest thing I'm trying to convey to the crowd is the energy of why I wrote the song or what the song means to me, as opposed to like they're gonna get every word. So when I'm performing for people, like if I ever perform, I haven't performed that song live, but if I ever did, it would be interesting to be able to share that feeling with the crowd, you know. And that alone is like pleasing to just my mind and my soul. Performing is different as well, because it's a mix of excitement, nervousness, like those two probably the most. And then the second I get on stage and the music starts playing, I'm just like focused. So it's like this, I grew up playing sports and stuff, so I know what it's like to kind of lock in mentally. So when I get up there, I'm just like in this zone where I'm not even thinking about anything besides that moment. So it's cool because it brings me really into the moment. Whereas, you know, sometimes in day-to-day life, you kind of mind wander or whatever, you know, it just really it's sobering. It's sobering. And then as far as writing music, it's a way for me to like introspect, assess where I'm at, how I'm feeling. And then just for like my mental health, like some of my songs, because I have a lot of songs I haven't released, right? They're just songs for me, or maybe I just don't think they're good enough. But it's interesting because one day I'm sad, I'll make a song. The next day I'm excited about something, I'll make a song. And it's almost just like little snippets of like how I was feeling at certain times in my life. Just little, expressions of that.
Honestly, I've noticed the change more in people of our age, I guess, because generally, even back home, back in Nigeria, like most older people, if you tell them that you're going through something or you're struggling with something, they're like, oh, you handle it, or like you've not even seen anything, or go pray about it, or like, you were never made to feel like those things were normal. So it was always like, oh, you have to handle this, you have to deal with it, no matter what happens, you just keep going on. And so I guess it's changing because more conversations with people our age, we understand each other. Like I've seen, like most people understand what you're going through. So I guess that's what's making the change. And I don't know, we're getting into more and more places and getting into the workforce, and like people recognize that that's something that needs to be taken into account.
When I was drinking, I was more of like drink alone kind of guy. So I would just be at home drinking or whatever. So I kind of pushed most of my friends away. So, which is still not good, but they didn't see it firsthand the way like it actually was. Which was sad because, I disappeared on them for a couple years. But it affected my relationship with my family the most, especially my mom, because she was just so helpless and she didn't know how to help me because she's watching her baby son just drink himself to death. And I would not show up. Like I missed one Christmas because like I was just wasted and I was like too embarrassed to go, or just things like that. I was missing birthday parties, like family birthdays, and I just wasn't there for my family. And it obviously put like a stain on our relationship. And then when I got sober, they've all been super good at like not holding resentments. They're more just excited to see me back. Like they're more just happy that they have Darion again. They're not holding everything over my head.
Yes, it has, even though I don't use it so much because I'm a very introverted person. Like when I have problems, I just withdraw and try to deal with them on my own. But it definitely helps if you can talk to somebody through it. And even after the fact, even after you feel you solved the problem, if you talk about it, you'll be like, oh, I actually did well, or there were some things I should have done that I shouldn't have done, and it helps you. Because I write a lot, like even poetry and raps and everything. So when you try and feel what you're feeling and put it right in front of you, like write it in a piece, it makes it feel like it's real. It has been expressed, and you can somehow move on from it. Like you can find the next step of what to do. But like when you always go back to it, maybe a piece of music that you made, a rap that you made, something you wrote, and you realize, oh, I was feeling like this that time and I did this and it helped me. And it's just for you to find a pattern for what helps you get out of those situations, and being able to like know clearly what it is that you were feeling.
The first one is called Kukum Song. So I wrote it it just means a lot to my family and like my culture, because it's like a song written about, my grandma when she was in residential school, but it's written from the perspective of like a little girl writing in her diary. So it's probably just like, in terms of creativity, the most creative way I've ever written a song, because it's through someone else's lens. And then I have a song called Do It All Again, which I think is just, in terms of overall songwriting ability, just catchy chorus, good lyrics, melodies, like just from a technical standpoint, I think is my best song. And it's also about the most, like, the girl that I've ever loved the most in my life. So it's about that one, so
yes, it's very much there. Like you hear it all the time that you're a man. Like you shouldn't cry and everything. I was a crybaby. Oh my god. I was a crybaby in high school, but like I don't know, I stopped, not really stopped. I just like hid that part of myself. Like no one's ever going to see me cry again. Like it was something I decided for myself. Like no one's ever going to see that. So I know a lot of guys too that have done the same thing.
I think it's been great, especially as like an artist who's trying to, you know, come up and grow. I have to do a lot nowadays. You have to do a lot of more like social media, and you're just a lot more out there. Your face is out there, because that's how you build fans, right? Is online these days. Obviously live shows and stuff, but it's cool to be able to be transparent, like who I am, and people can kind of get a glimpse of who I am. Because back in the past, you could never do that. There was like MTV and stuff, but you could never really. You never had your favorite artist going live on Instagram or TikTok, and you could just like ask him questions and talk to him like that, right? So I think for me, I've always been like pretty honest in my music. I've talked about my struggles, and it's interesting with hip hop and being a rapper. There's this stigma around just being the cool guy, the easygoing, like you're perfect, like you're the shit, right? So when it comes to me, I've never tried to be that. I've talked about it, and it's just cool to be able to talk about my eye or my drinking, and then have people comment and be like, yo, I'm 6 months sober, or like have someone comment and be like, I'm on like day 3 and I'm struggling, and I can like message her and be like, you know, if you ever need me, I'm here, like you can do it. I almost got 2 years sober. Like that interaction, and people are just honest, and you can just talk to each other, and you've never been able to do that in the past. So
Like every song is so connected, and there's a reason for everything. I think one song is Growing Pains from my EP, because it was like I had to really think about what made me decide to actually accept coming to Canada and everything. And even though I wasn't fully in with it 100% when I was doing it, it was just something that was happening at the time and just going along with it. But like writing about that and thinking through it, like even though sometimes I still have moments I'm like, oh, I should have stayed, like I shouldn't have gone anywhere, but listening to that again, it's like, okay, you made the choice, you have to work with it and like make the most of it while you're here.
And we have bombings and killings, all in the name of Allah. They say they want peace, but inciting a war. Kill it for millions and then they surrender and get presidential pardons and awards. And the government blames all the problems on the lazy youth. ISIL is striking again and again. The children can't even go to school. Ban everything that they don't.
like I still remember when I was in the office, and then the guy was like, yo, we're gonna have to take your eye out. Like it hit hard, but it was still like, it was too much news to really like, my mind couldn't really comprehend like this is happening. So it kind of just slowly, gradually came to me, but it definitely knocked me down even further. Like I was already in that place, and it took me even further down, like of course. And then struggle for like a whole nother year after that, probably drinking even more. And it got to the point where it's like, okay, like you are going to die, you know? So losing my eye, it knocked me down even further, without question.
It's made me realize that people always need an avenue to express, and like unbridled self-expression without judgment. You know, it's like if somebody's feeling somehow and expresses it, even if it's wrong, there's always a way to correct the person in helpful ways. And then if you try to correct the person in helpful ways and then the person is not accepting that help, that's a different thing entirely. But always extending that grace to people is very important, because you never know why somebody is saying those things or doing those things.
I was always coming up with melodies. I was playing piano and guitar when I was like 12. I was dancing. Music was huge for me. But as I got older and went through high school, I was focused on basketball, and that was a big thing for me. And then once I got out of high school, I didn't really know what I was doing. Like I had no direction. And then so that's when I started kind of like drinking and partying, and I didn't drink in high school or anything. And so I kind of always knew I wanted to go for music, but then when I turned like 20 and I started drinking and partying a lot, I was so distracted from that that I didn't really have the time to, or not the time, but like the focus to say, okay, I'm gonna go for music. And then as my drinking progressively got worse, because it started as like a fun habit and it turned into like an addiction, right? It started very innocently, just like anyone, just partying. And then it became this thing where it's like, well, I've just drank the last like 2 months every day. And so it just turned into like this addiction. So, but coming out of it now, my perspective is kind of almost like it was before it. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do.
It's something to get lost in and something to do, because I read somewhere, if you're ever feeling like down or depressed, that just do something, anything, like just go out for a walk or something. So music is something to do. Like I can play a song and try and rap to it, and that helps. Like it's just one of those things where I can play a beat and just try and freestyle to it. It's definitely something that comes clutch in those moments.
I just kind of write about things I've experienced, things I am experiencing. Sometimes I write about like metaphorically, like where I want to be. It's a lot of different things. I kind of just write a song with how I feel. So if like I'm reminiscing about an ex, I'll write a song about love. If I see a beautiful girl at the beach and she inspires me and I just want to write a love song about just, not her obviously, but just she'll inspire me to want to do that. If I'm, dancing a lot, I want to write a dance song. Like, I don't know, it just depends on, I'm very like malleable when it comes to that. So
it's health in the way, like I'll relate it to the body. The way you want your body to function and be able to do things is also the way you want your mind to be able to function and do things. You want your mind to be able to focus when it needs to enjoy something when it needs to like relax when it needs to, and like regulating all those emotions and feelings and the way your mind goes, that's healthy. Like if something's happening and you should be happy, like you try and be happy with it. If you really enjoy something and you're doing it because you enjoy it, try and enjoy it and not let anything affect that moment for you. It's basically being able to feel, I don't want to say the way you should feel, because like people get feelings from different things, but it's basically having your mind being able to do the things that you need it to do for you.
I would say two things. The first thing I would say is just be consistent. Like, the chances are you're probably like gonna suck at first. That's like the biggest hurdle that people don't get through with anything, learning anything, is they don't accept that they're gonna suck for a while. And you just have to just be consistent and just accept that. And then, because everyone's expecting to like make a hit song, their first song, and it's just like, that's just not the way it goes. And then second, I would say just write music that you would want to listen to. Like, don't try to sound like Justin Bieber or that song that blew up on SoundCloud, or don't try to just sound like that music that's hot right now. Like, just make music that you want to like make.
I can't say for Canada because I've only been here a year, but I can say with people my age, like my closest friends, we always make it a thing to like talk to ourselves if there's anything really serious happening to you. Really serious, I mean, because we know everybody's going through a struggle, and if you can handle it, like, do your thing. But if you need anything, like, you can always call anybody. Like I talked to one of my best friends yesterday, like just texting, just catching up, because it's like just talking.
Probably like my mom, because when I was a kid, like, that's all we did. She had this karaoke player, and she would just sing every night, and music was just like always around. I remember even as a kid, like being in the car, and she was always playing like the radio on blast and just like singing, and it just, music was like in our family. Our whole family played instruments, sang, so it was just around. It was just a lifestyle. So probably my mom.
I'll say the one thing I think everyone struggling is try and find something to do. If you remember something that you were doing before that made you happy, try and do that thing. Like, just commit to doing it, even if it's like, for 10 minutes I'm going to focus on this, for 10 minutes I'm going to take a walk and come back, and just let your thoughts be explored and over time you see that if you're actually doing something, you have to focus on being in the moment and actually doing that thing, and that helps your mind a lot.
Try to find somebody in real life that you can see that's like tangible, that's done it, what you're trying to do, whether it's overcome addiction or depression, because I know when you're caught up in it, it's hard to see like the light at the end of the tunnel or hope. It's hard to have hope. And when you can see somebody in real life that's done it, it kind of gives you a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of hope. Because I remember in my darkest times, I never thought I was going to be able to get sober. I never thought that I could go a day without drinking. And then, you know, you see somebody with 1 year, 2 year, and you're like, oh, like it is possible. So just if you can find somebody like that where you can just be like, it's a reminder to you to say, hey, we can do it. We as human beings can overcome this.
My name is Laolu, Oseni, and my coping method is expressing myself through music, writing, and anything else.
My coping method is making music. I swear I was meant for this. I was just meant to make music, I think.